Just a quick, whatever. Start with a hair swing. We both did it.
Hello, everyone. It's Diane, the massage mentor. And I don't usually put my hair down. So the rebels make me swatted around a little. Oh my God, I don't even know what to do with it.
We are letting our hair down today. It's 2020. It's a new decade.
Rebel!
What's up, my friend?
It's really good to be back with you. It feels like it's been a little while since we've done any bonding, at least live on Facebook, So it's good to have you with me.
I'm so happy to be back and doing this and like starting the decade off with you.
And it is so true. Like that's one of the things that everyone's really been talking about. And it took a while for me to have it sink in that it is a new decade.
A
whole new decade, which is very exciting.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I am super excited to be chatting with you and continuing our tradition of talking about all things massage therapy on Facebook Live because, it just keeps the whole momentum going of the trajectory of everything that we want to do and everything that massage therapy is doing and everything that brings us together as a community. And I love it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, and I agree. And I think there's a lot of conversation, but I don't know if it's about some of the basic things that, sometimes we talk about and then we get into a little deeper things too. And, it's just real good, wholesome conversation with two ladies who love massage. And the first thing I want to point out, one, I just want to say to people on the page, I get so many questions that everyone wants me to post. If I posted all those questions, it would just be streams and streams of questions. So I do pick and choose a little bit. But I wanted to go back and grab a couple of the questions that might not have made it up or that did make it up. And one was about gratuities.
Yes.
Do we take them or do we not take them? I mean, this is like a really big thing, I think, and it's changed through the years. You have views on it, I have views on it, and that's the beauty. We can all have views on it. There's no rules.
That is the beauty. Opinions are like that. You can have your opinion, and then you can let somebody else have their own opinion, and that's the beautiful thing about opinions.
The beautiful thing about opinions, and the beautiful thing about opinions is no one's really right or wrong.
Exactly, it just is. It is. And
how do you feel about it?
Talk about that forever. Okay, so gratuities, I tend to think that if I am working somewhere else, like at somebody else's spa or chiropractic clinic or whatever it is, I will happily accept gratuities because I'm not making the full amount of what's being paid. And when it's my own private practice, I tend to say no to gratuities. But Diane had a good story that I think that you should tell because I think it raises a really good point about accepting thanks, which is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. For me, it didn't make me feel like I wasn't professional by receiving gratuities, especially back in the 90s. In early 2000s, it wasn't as
different now.
It wasn't the same, and a lot of my clients were really, 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 really wealthy. Thank you. We were saying that one of my clients, helped create the Total Gym. So for him, it was like he wanted to share that wealth with me. And at Christmas time, he would give me a few $100, and I don't know. I was trying to build my business. I was trying to get things going, and he was insistent, and I didn't feel any weird vibes with him. I saw him and his entire family. So not only did I see him, I saw him, his brother, his sister, his wife, his nieces, his nephews. They were basically like the people. I always say with my practice, it was like 2 or 3 families that built the whole practice, and so when you have that
reciprocity, so you are building your business and these families are helping you build your business and you are grateful. So they are equally as grateful. And their way of showing gratitude is literally that's the word. Gratuity is gratitude. And so to say no to gratuity is a little bit of like a slap in the face. And so it's at one point you can say, it's okay. I don't need, if you're working on somebody and they're not financially super well off and they're like, I want to tip you. and it's your own private practice and you're already charging a lot of money and it's okay, like that's okay to be like, no, save your money. It's totally okay. Yeah. But if they are wealthy and this is how they want to show their gratitude through gratuity, then absolutely, it's a reciprocity. It's an exchange of energy that is a healthy, giving, caring, building conversation.
And that was in like the late 90s. They're still clients. Your kids are still coming. So
amazing.
Yeah, so right. I feel like sometimes I just believe sometimes things should be a little more open-ended. And like you said, if a client came in and they're like, I don't know if I can afford to keep coming.
Right.
I would say, well, please don't tip me, and here's $10 off.
Right.
Some people will struggle at that, but if you really want someone to come, you're gonna work with them. Does that mean you're not being fair to other people? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, one of my biggest revelations as a business owner and as a massage therapist and being my own boss about money was that money is looking at money as the traditional way that I think most Americans grow up and look at money is that it's the root of all evil and it's this thing that creates empires and tears people apart and it creates greed and all this kind of stuff. And I think that makes your own mentality, or made my own mentality around money really difficult. And when it came to points where I could have made more money, I limited myself because I was like, oh, I don't, it's that thing that is so evil. And this became this background energy that dictated how I acted. And I think that if you understand money to be more like an energy exchange in the way that we have words that we exchange and in the way that we have food that we exchange and those things all feel good. And money is then not so evil and can grow and can be a beautiful thing that we can use to help feel solid and stable and flourish.
Free.
Yeah. So I feel like gratuity is in that realm because gratuity is so typically money and to look at it like, no, I don't deserve it, or no, don't do that, or no, I should say no, or no, I can't be greedy, or no, I have to limit myself. You're limiting your own energy.
Yes. That's how I agree 100% with that too. And one of the things that I feel like too as a business owner is I am the shepherd of good fortune too for my staff, and I get to we get to choose what we're going to do with that income. And I get so excited when they come to my office door and they're like, oh my God, it's Christmas time. We love Christmas time because a lot of our clients are really generous. And, of course we have guidelines around it to keep an eye on it to make sure that no one's expecting something more or weird. Right. But for the most part, I have hope, Rebel. I have hope in people and their intentions. Well, I have hope.
That's the best part. Hope and happiness and health and love and laughter. Hope is right in there. All of it.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. I think that Christmas, I think it's funny that you said Christmas because I think Christmas is one of those things that brings out this part, like there's like a month out of the year where everybody is like, I want to give. And then like the flow feels amazing. The energy feels amazing. You turn a corner and you're like, oh, somebody's giving me cookies, or, oh, I want to give somebody this box of chocolates or whatever it is. And I feel like that it fuels itself. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, I want to give more. And I want to this is so fun. And it'd be so nice if it was like that year round, but I don't know that we can keep up that momentum.
And the giving is great. And also being a good receiver is good too. Being a good receiver, that's what we're talking. Because, if you're not a good receiver, then it kind of gives away, it stops the whole giving thing. It's like,
it does. Right. Yes. Keep it on going.
I feel like we found some commonality, some common ground on the gratuity thing. And I
think so too. I think so too. I think it just kind of depends on person, client to client, individual, like what your practice is, what kind of clients you see. I mean, if you've got a private practice, but you are seeing super famous rich people all the time, take gratuities. I mean, it's, that's totally okay. Just don't make it an exchange for anything above and beyond what we do for a living.
That's right. And then we have the next thing that someone posted about was that they were having a little bit of a difficult time too, finding a little bit of a balance that they're moms and just struggling with that. And I know that here we have a house full of maybe, I think there's 4 or 5 moms, and new moms with older children, and it's really different for everybody. I have a dog, so this question is all you, Rebel. Like, how do you find that balance? And I guess it changes with time, right?
It does change with time, and I'm trying to figure out which words to start with because there are so many words I can apply to this issue. Being a mom and working is very, very tricky and demanding. But I think that it goes with anything else. When you, first of all, I need to just say right off the bat that one of the reasons why I chose this career is because I knew I wanted to be a mom eventually, and I knew it would be flexible, and that's the bonus. So what I have wrapped my head around, and the way that I have really sunk this into my being and my reality, is that when there are times when I feel like all I'm doing is like waking up my kids, getting them ready for school, dropping them off, going, working, seeing clients, coming home, doing the kids, blah, 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 and I feel exhausted by that, I feel grateful. I switch my mentality. I meditate, and then I practice switching my focus from focusing on the exhaustion and feeling grateful that I have a job that allows me to be there when my kids wake up, pick up my kids from school, be there when my kids go to bed, or, or whatever. And as my kids are getting older now, I can leave them home for a couple of hours and work on a couple of clients or do whatever I need to do. And I don't need to be gone for 8 or 10 hours all day, because that's not what our days look like. So there's a lot of flexibility in that is good. But I think the trick becomes about the perception around it, which I think this is true of everything. I think anything can feel exhausting, depending on how you perceive it. And granted, everything is exhausting. It's like life is exhausting. But the trick is, how do you sit in it, and how do you kind of get to this place where you can still find the space to go, here's the good things about it, and if I focus on those things, it's going to keep me going. I think that's kind of the trick, but it's hard.
You brought up a really good point that I would like to hone in on, because one of the reasons that I became one of the reasons
air movement.
One of the reasons that I became a massage therapist was really because I was like in all of the flexibility that it could have,
Yes.
And I think in the beginning I had no flexibility because I was busy taking every single client that I possibly could. I used to see a client every morning not every week at 6:00 in the morning. And people were like, what? And I was like, well, that's when he wants this massage. They book me every week, and I'm just starting out. So that's what I'm going to do. But I feel like that's one of the things that's gotten lost, is that we can have flexibility,
right?
And it's a real gift.
Right. So as with everything, I think you said in the beginning of this question, you were kind of like, it shifts as time goes, but this is true with everything. So in the beginning, when you're starting to establish your client base, you say yes to everything, and you kind of, your boundaries are not as clear because you're trying to figure them out. Mm-hmm. And so when you start to establish, okay, this is when I work best, this is when I can see clients, this is where I can manage how my life is going to go, and this is where all these puzzle pieces are going to fall into place, you start to figure out your own boundaries, and you start to create your own system that gives you energy to be able to move through it. But I think it's the same, like, no matter, like, that applies to how we parent or how we mother, and as a single mom, very specifically, I think there's times where I for a long time I convinced myself this. I'm just going to tell a quick story here because I think this is relevant. So for a long time I convinced myself, make yourself comfortable. So for a long time I convinced myself that I didn't have time to exercise because that was the last thing on my priority list. My priorities were my kids, my work, my finances, and keeping all of that going. And that really took up every single ounce of my energy. And as I look back on how things fell into place, it wasn't just that my kids got older and got easier. It was also that I started to go, wait a minute. So I can establish that I can say no to seeing clients at this time, and that's an okay thing to do. And I can establish that I will set aside this time for me. And for me, my exercise was the thing that I needed to prioritize. It was the thing that I wanted to kind of push into the forefront and give myself, because it was my self-care that I thrive on. Mm-hmm. But I think no matter how you cut it, diving into this world of being your own boss and having clients and figuring out when to say yes and when to say no and how much to charge and when to say yes to a tip and when to say no to a tip and all of that kind of stuff is like it does feel overwhelming, but part of moving forward in time is letting those pieces fall and feeling where they fall comfortably and feeling where they don't fall comfortably, and having the wherewithal and the awareness to say, okay, so I've tried this doesn't work, so I'm going to try it again a different way, and maybe that'll work. And keeping the perspective of, I chose this because of the flexibility, and the flexibility is the thing that I want more than anything. And thank God I have that. Thank God my flexibility is the thing. Stay grateful for that. Keep the gratitude around that, and that's a big energy inside of me. If I can, do that practice every day, which I think we all kind of talk about in our own practice. Like it's about how you every day can wake up and face all the things that we're doing. So practicing gratitude practicing gratitude around my flexibility became a big push through the hard parts, for sure. Definitely. And you're right, dads equally.
I know. Sorry, dads.
Yeah, dude, dads. The struggle is real. Parenthood is real. Period. It's real.
And I think too, one of the things that I think is important for me, and it sounds like it's important for you, and I wish that more of us took the time to do it, and is if you have to get up an hour earlier or you have to do things an hour later, like if this vehicle, if I don't feel comfortable in it, happy in it, if I'm loading a bunch of crap into it, my brain doesn't work as well. I don't want to be close to, like I'm beating myself, I want to feel good. I want to look good. Like these things are like, to me, that time, taking that time to really work on my body is super important, or else it's like almost like for me the first step. Like when I get up, if I don't do my walk or do my exercise before my day, I'm just a little grumpier.
Yeah, like for sure.
So I wouldn't see clients till like 11.
Yes. Right. And then you figure out your rhythm. I mean, for me, I'm like you, Diane. I'm like you. I exercise best first thing in the morning. So I figured out, and my kids are now like, you get up at 5 and you run at 6, and how are like you're back by 7, and then you take us to school, and why? And I like, for a long time I would never have done that, but I found a place that I was able to make a choice that felt like the thing that worked for me in my life. And I think that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest part, when you're managing a bunch of different moving parts.
And there's nothing to do.
Finding where they fall.
There's nothing to do at the ass crack of dawn. What can you do? You can't make phone calls. I mean, maybe you could do an email. You can't. I mean, there's not much you can do. So why not use that time constructively for yourself before you start your day, and think of 10,000 reasons why you couldn't possibly work out.
Yeah. And not only that, I'm going to harp on this a little bit. I mean, I think this is hysterical that I'm doing this, because I was, as my name dictates, I was rebellious against all of this for a long time. I was very nobody can tell me that I need to exercise, and nobody can tell me what to do, and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. And I became super I was just that child that wouldn't ever listen to reason. And so as I've gotten older and I'm doing all these things that my parents and teachers and everybody were kind of trying to tell me all along, and now I'm doing them, I'm like, of course. But there was an article published recently in Scientific American about the connection of exercise to happiness. And it's, this is nothing new, but the the research just keeps coming. The direct correlation between moving your body and creating neurological signals and responses that keep your brain healthy and happy is massive. So, and then, like you start your day with whatever it is, a yoga or running or a walk or whatever it is. And then when you face all those things that you're struggling, like motherhood and being a single parent or being a parent of whatever, I mean, having pets and relationships and all of the things,
everything.
Employees, everything, you can handle it better when your brain is functioning better. So it's, if I do have a hard lined thing to say about managing all of the moving parts, incorporate exercise into your daily routine somehow. Yeah.
It's so important.
So important.
I was just like,
it's like a 10-minute walk. Seriously, even if it's a 10-minute walk.
10-minute
Consistency is better than like going out hardcore. You do not have to run for an hour. Consistency.
Use it so you don't lose it. As you were saying that too, I was thinking like if you let his car just sitting outside and it never drives, it deteriorates,
It's not going to start.
And you have to keep moving. You absolutely have to keep moving, and it makes everything in your life better. So it's definitely one of the 4 things I try to do every day, and it's definitely got to work out. Or I'm so
me too.
So
I love
grumpy.
that. Yeah, it's grumpy. And the older I get too, the more I'm aware of how grumpy I get when I don't. Like actually yesterday is a prime example. I did not do it for a whole host of reasons that I, could look back and be like, whatever, they're not valid, but I didn't do it. And I was like, by 3:00 in the afternoon, I was like, harumph. Don't talk to me. I was so grumpy.
Good.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And for me too, I like doing the weightlifting too. I think is something that I overlooked for a little while too. What's going on there? Somebody's talking about
it. Really cool post. 70 pounds at one point and was obsessed with fitness at one point. Felt so good, and fitness was an escape. Yep. Totally. And the finding the balance is also the hard part, that you can get obsessed with it. You can get overly obsessed with it, and it can become the thing that starts to push everything else away in your life. And so like everything else we've been talking about, like trying and then figuring out what works, and trying and seeing what doesn't work, and then coming back and going, well, I'm going to try again. And, it's
switching it up.
Yeah. But good for you for being at the gym. That's awesome. Woo!
Okay.
So movement is life, stagnation is death.
I believe it. I mean,
movement is life, stagnation is death. Yeah.
Ooh, you had a good one there. That's a good one.
That's an ancient Chinese proverb, I think.
I like it.
Nice, isn't it? I like it. I know, I like it.
Do you want to do another one?
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes some of my staff even, and I think people, you work with people. You might tell them, hey, you might want to be able to touch your toes. Maybe that would help your lower back.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to, like we're talking, like you can't get some people to get the fact that they have to take care of themselves, like, and you can't push it on them, right? But they come to you week after week after week. And they're not doing anything. Frustrating. I mean, it's like it sometimes it gets hard, especially too if you're so busy massaging everyone that you're not taking care of yourself, and then you're like all this. It can be a big So I mean, what are your suggestions on that? I think we've talked about that maybe a little bit before, but I could see where it would be an ongoing thing for people and probably get different insights on it each time.
So the question is how to help a client actually make a change after they leave
your own frustration. Office. I think one of the things that a lot of people come to my office about is like, what am I'm like freaking out. Like, how can we help them like realize, one of the things that I always say is it's like, there's only so much you can do. You're responsible for that hour.
Yeah.
They're responsible for the rest.
Yes. Yeah. So I always relate everything to parenting because I think parenting is just permeates every part of life and is representative of everything. But I think that parent leadership in general, parenting and leadership in general, lead by example. So if you're just saying all the time, you need to exercise more, you need to move more, you know, whatever it is, I think that those words can fall on ears that are not willing to hear it necessarily, or not ready to hear it. And I think what happens more so, that's more impactful, is the idea that if somebody looks at you and they're like, wow, so Diane is really, like, she seems happy and settled and healthy, and I know enough about her that she's been through some stuff, and I wonder how, oh no, she'd exercise, she goes for walks, and you know, like, I think when you lead by example and you are very clearly living a life that is geared towards mental health, mental stability, that's going to help other people do that same thing, and feel like there's you are a model after which they can live, hopefully. The other thing that I think is really cool is that habits are really, really hard to break. So if somebody's in a habit of not eating healthy or not exercising, logic isn't always going to be the thing that breaks that habit. I mean, there's been so much research about the fact that, you know, we found out that smoking caused cancer, and we put a warning signal on the pack of cigarettes that it's going to give you cancer, and cigarette sales rose. Like, the logic doesn't do anything. So the thing that creates a shift is often either creating like a friction around the thing that you want to do that's not good for you, or reducing the friction around the thing that you want to do but you're having a hard time doing. So making suggestions for your clients that might help them reduce friction around the things they want to do, like if they want to get up and walk in the morning before they go to work, or exercise or whatever, or they go to the gym, you know, like trying to figure out ways, trying to help them formulate ways that it can be easier for them to start creating that habit. And then, you know, being that support system for them, and just kind of like reminding them that, I'm checking in with you. Did you go to the gym last week, or did you go for a walk last week? You know, and just helping urge that process on, and making things a little easier for them. So the habit is formulated quicker, and it doesn't feel so hard to change, because change is hard.
And I would just say to someone, hey, when you go home tonight, why don't you just put your foot on your bed and lean forward?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. What? Yeah. I'm like, just start.
Just do it.
Every night before you go to bed, just put your foot up and then lean forward.
Right. Like, exactly. What? Exactly.
Do it.
Yes. Or like, when, you know, if you feel like exercising is awful, but you love watching TV, get yourself something, a weight, and do it in front of the TV. Like, give yourself a treat for it. Give yourself a reward for it. I mean, I agree with this Facebook user just said, you can tell something to somebody until they're blue in the face, but it's not going to happen until they're ready. But what you can do is help give them hints, like Diane just did, about how to just like start making it easier for them, so that look, she's getting swole.
I keep 2 weights on my desk. So before I start work, I'll do 10 presses. And then if I get up to go to the restroom, I'll do another 10. And, you know, so we all at Freedom Massage sometimes we'll be like, let's break. And we'll do 10 squats together. You know, like, so it's really, too, it's not like you have to go to the gym and get it all done in one quick, like, you can spread, you could do 100 squats in a day and just do 10 at a time.
Yeah, just start. Yeah, I mean, I will say that I was a runner for a long time, and then I stopped running for a really long time. And then when I decided to get back into it, I had this notion in my head that I was like, oh, I used to run marathons. I can go out and run 5 miles right now, no problem. And of course, I couldn't. So I had to. I just yell at them. That's funny. I had to start, and I literally started with 5 minutes. I just went out, and I had been walking for a long time, but I I just went out and I was like, you know what, I'm going to run for 5 minutes. And I don't care if it feels like I'm ashamed that I can't run more than 5 minutes. I'm just going to do it and let the shame go and start with the little itty bitty bits and just start. And yeah.
That's the thing though, like that's the thing. You have that experience because you've done that. So it's really easy to share that with people. You know, you can say through experience, hey, just start off with 5 minutes. You know, you don't have to run a marathon. Like run from your car to your house. Start there. See how it feels.
Yes. You know? Yes. And all of a sudden you like to win maybe, and then wait till you want to do more. You don't have to give yourself this regimen of like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes today, 7 minutes tomorrow. And by next week, I'll be up to 20 minutes. Like you don't have to do that. Just be patient with yourself.
20 miles by February 1st.
Yeah.
So
I feel like what's really funny is that I feel like we are fully in the January like live stream mode. Like this is New Year's resolution. We are making ourselves better for the new year. Like we are doing it. But ultimately this comes down to like the question was, how do you deal with clients who aren't doing it for themselves? And I think that like being the person who is doing the thing and being a model for them is one big thing. And then giving them little tips to make their lives easier, their transition easier is going to be helpful. And you never know what's going to stick for them because you're right. If they don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. But if they do want to hear it, those little tips are going to be super helpful.
I've had so many people come to me and say, I put my foot up on the bed and stretched before, and it felt really good, Diane. So then I decided to do more.
Did it again.
And another thing too, that when I went to the Integrative Institute of Nutrition in Manhattan, and one of the things that their program taught was too, when it comes to diet and stuff, you don't tell people to take things away. What you do is you add something. So for me, I always add, whenever anyone asks me anything about eating well, I always say, drink a shake in the morning. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, put some blueberries, put some bananas, get some I do my vegan hippy dippy little powder, and I drink that. So what happens is I get a lot of nutrients in the morning. And by, like it fills me up, and my thing is trying to eat all day long too. Sometimes I'll miss meals and stuff. And I don't really know why I went off on that tangent at all, but I'm glad you're smiling.
No, it's totally, I like it's like this new, adding and what things that you can say to your clients that are going to help them make that switch for sure. I know that I, for a long time again, was parenting in this way that was like, you should be eating 5 to 7 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. And I'm sitting there with my bag of chips. Like, you should be eating oranges right now. And I'm chowing down on Fritos, right? Like, that's not how it works. And I finally, I decided for my own kids to do the same thing. I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to start eating a ton of salads and a ton of fruit because I want them to see me eating the foods that I want them to eat. So instead of yelling at them all the time, I'm just going to start being the person that I want them to be. And and then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I like myself.
And that's, my staff, that's how I literally keep these weights on my thing. So now they ask for weights in the back room. So now they do their little weights in between sessions. And if I go to the gym every day,
yes, if your shake has coffee, that counts. Yes, that counts.
Yes. Oh my God. I put a little coffee in my shakes a lot.
Yes.
But
if you go to the gym, yes, sorry.
When I'm going to the gym every day, I used to be like, ask my wife, would you like to come to the gym? Would you like to come to the gym? I would come to the gym. Let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym. And then, it almost caused the less gym going. So now I just don't ask. And it's funny though, when when people see you doing something, maybe I'll go to the gym today,
they get motivated. Yeah. Be the model. Nobody wants to be yelled at. Nobody wants to be told that they're doing something wrong, but be the model. Be the person you want them to be. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Gandhi, I love you.
You are lighting them up with the sayings today.
Well, they're not. I didn't make them up. I wish I did, but
you got them.
Also, coffee is life.
Coffee is life. That's one thing I've done every day for the last 10 years is I have a cup of coffee in the morning before I do anything. I do. It just, just works for me.
Every day for like 30 years.
Yeah, it works for me. Well, good.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think What do you think? I only have one more left, but I think we can wrap it up there.
Whatever you want to do. Totally up to you.
One of the things that I just posted today, and then we'll stop there, is someone was saying that she has a client and they lost a loved one, and that she was afraid that when the loved one came in, she'd be carrying this grief, first of all, and then also felt bad about charging her almost, and how to protect herself kind of in the session from taking on that grief, and also, how to have good boundaries in a situation like that with a client.
So how do you have good so the question is, how do you have good boundaries in a situation where somebody is coming in with a big loss?
Big loss. Because you have clients that come in with big deals,
Big time. Big time.
And I think one of the things, you can go first.
No, you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
I think one of the suggestions that I like to make to staff, and I've always found for myself, is less is more in a lot of these situations. Because they've been talking about it. People have been talking to them about it. Chances are very likely and very high that it's been on the forefront of their minds, And so I always, I bring it up if it's brought up to me. And I was saying just to one of my staff members the other day, it's like, why don't you just say to her that I am honored that you chose me to help you with this painful time.
And just leave it at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Just kind of keeping it short, simple, and letting them just talk it out if they need to.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Like add in more. Like I feel like sometimes too, when a woman's pregnant, everyone has something to say about this is what you need to do. This is how you have to handle it. Or if something's wrong with someone, we all have to throw in our 2 cents.
No,
we already have enough. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
They're coming for a professional service where they're looking to chill.
Yeah. Yes. Just be the space. Be the space for sure. I 100% agree. I also think that most massage therapists describe themselves as empaths. And I think we do all feel a certain, like we get into this field because we want to help people with their pain. And when somebody has a pain that feels bigger than what we can handle, we want to figure out how to handle it. And right. I think the trick is to do exactly what you're saying, the less is more thing. I think it's more about kind of like just being there for the space for them. I mean, people come in with all sorts of deep scars that we don't even know. And sometimes just being the silent space or just being, the supportive kind of like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you an hour in your day that you can just completely let go. I don't need to add anything to it. I don't need to offer any advice. Like that's not our job. And it's definitely out of our range of or scope of practice. But I think finding your own boundaries around how much your empathy trickles down, I think is the key. So when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, somebody just lost a loved one and your own heart feels like it wants so badly to help and it feels all this pain, you've got to figure out your own boundaries so that you can provide that space and be that solid rock for them.
I agree. Yeah. And then someone else just said, a lot of times people just want someone to listen. And I think that's the biggest gift that I've given all my clients over the last 20 years was just being someone who listened and heard them. Like I've always said, like everyone wants to be heard so badly. And the last part of that question that I just wanted to touch base with was she was saying, do I charge her? I mean, again, it's like one of those personal things. Like there's a lot of times I've been like, I've had a client come in, they're upset about something's going horrible for them, and I will just gift them a massage. I would gift them, and they would be like, then that's when you might see a little sprinkle down their cheek, because even my most wealthy clients once in a while, because one of them said to me, no one has ever given me anything for free, because she's so used to being the one giving.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that gift can be, that could but yes, again, I think you stated it really well, just like in the moment, knowing your person, your client, and then being able to say, like knowing everything that you're going through, I'd like to gift this to you. And I think that's totally, I mean, I had a client for years who was dealing with this very kind of rare autoimmune disease. it taxed her and her family greatly because they did all this, they had doctors upon doctors upon tests and all of this stuff. And she saw me regularly. And every once in a while I was like, you know what, today's on the house. Like just every once in a while. Cause I knew, and I just felt like, I want to contribute somehow. Like, maybe I'm not the person that's going to make your family a meal, but this is what I can do. So I think, knowing your client, knowing at what moment you feel like that gift would be the best thing to give.
It never has backfired on me. Never. By being
never.
And loving and kind. I haven't.
Loving and kindness never backfires.
Never backfires.
Shaken, not stirred, as somebody
like
said.
That.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Well,
so
this is done for now.
I'm gonna just super quickly talk about the fact that there's a possibility that Diane and I are going to teach a class together here in Long Beach, California.
I mean, I'm feeling like I already have my plane ticket.
It's happening. Okay, you do have your plane ticket. So if you're interested, I'm going to say it then. I'm going to just say it.
We're doing it.
We are teaching a class together at the end of February here in Long Beach, California.
Woo!
Details to come, but it's going to be a business-oriented, marketing-oriented, kind of how to get yourself really going into a place where you want to be and that you feel comfortable launching your career in that way.
It'll be fun. Yay. I can't wait.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Me too. So details to come on that. Details to come. I hope we see you there because we are super pumped about what we do and we want you guys to feel it and we want you guys to be pumped too.
When we get together, crazy things happen, good stuff.
Crazy things.
And I plan, one of the things that I've been learning from my mentors is don't hold back. Like you don't have any secret sauce, Diane. Just give it to them. Give them everything.
Right, exactly.
Because you just so I plan on just giving everything I got. I get every little morsel of how Freedom Massage was built and how I've made it 20 years as a massage therapist and how I have 13 massage therapists working here and all that good stuff. There'll be no holding back.
It's not a competition. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
And we want everybody to succeed.
One of the greatest gifts of succeeding is sharing your experience with others. Hands down. Hands down. So
I love it. Okay.
All right, we're going to log off now.
Thank you, Diane.
If you enjoyed. Hang tight, mentor. I'm just going to stop this now.
Yep. Bye, guys.